One night during my shift, a 72-year-old gentleman collapsed in the corridor while walking back to his cabin. He was airlifted by helicopter to a hospital on the mainland. The bill exceeded $40,000. His insurance covered nothing. I will never forget the look of helplessness on that man's face. That is exactly why I am making this video today. I spent 7 years working in guest services on cruise ships, and I watched passengers over 60 make the same preventable mistakes week after week. Today I am going to reveal 15 hidden risks that most cruisers never see coming, and more importantly, how to protect yourself from every single one of them. Stay with me until the end, because number 14 involves a danger hiding inside your own cabin that most passengers never even think about. Let me start with the risk that catches more seniors off guard than any other. Most passengers over 60 assume their regular health insurance will protect them at sea. This is dangerously wrong. According to the Centers for Disease Control, roughly half of all passengers who visit cruise ship medical centers are over 65 years old. Yet here is what the cruise lines never advertise. Medicare does not cover you once the ship is more than 6 hours from a United States port. That means the moment you sail into international waters, you are on your own. Your Medicare card becomes nothing more than a piece of plastic. I once helped a retired couple from Ohio who needed emergency care in the Caribbean. Their Medicare card was useless. They paid over $8,000 out of pocket just for basic treatment. The wife told me she had no idea Medicare would not cover them. She assumed it worked like domestic travel. It does not. The solution is simple but critical. Before you book any cruise, purchase comprehensive travel insurance that specifically covers emergency medical treatment and medical evacuation. Look for policies offering at least $50,000 in medical coverage and $250,000 in evacuation coverage. This single step could save you from financial devastation. Now let me tell you about the second risk, and this one is responsible for nearly half of all injuries on cruise ships: falls. Research published in medical journals shows that slips, trips, and falls account for approximately 45% of all cruise ship injuries. The median age of injured passengers in these studies was 72 years old. The most common locations for these accidents are cabin bathrooms at 20% and the areas around pools and outdoor decks. You might think you are steady on your feet, but cruise ships move in ways your body does not expect. Even gentle swaying can throw off your balance, especially on freshly mopped decks or near the pool area. The most dangerous spots are cabin bathrooms and those metal thresholds in doorways. I watched an elderly gentleman slip leaving a hot tub one afternoon. He did not get up until the medical team arrived with a wheelchair. His vacation was over in that moment. The floor was wet. There was no warning sign, and he stepped wrong. It happened in less than 2 seconds. Here is what experienced cruisers do differently. They pack proper non-slip shoes with rubber soles and wear them everywhere on the ship, not just on excursions. They hold handrails religiously, even when they feel perfectly steady. They move slowly and deliberately, especially in the morning when the body is still waking up. They never rush to the buffet or race to get off at port. These small habits can mean the difference between a wonderful vacation and a medical emergency. The third risk involves something that sounds routine but can become terrifying for passengers with mobility challenges: tender boats. Some ports cannot accommodate large cruise ships, so passengers are ferried to shore in smaller boats called tenders. If you have ever seen one, you know there is often a gap of up to 12 inches between the ship and the tender, and that gap moves up and down with the waves. When the sea is choppy, that gap becomes a genuine hazard. Cruise lines have strict policies about who can board tenders. On some ships, if crew members believe you cannot safely step across that gap, they simply will not allow you to board. I have seen passengers in tears after being told they could not visit a port they had dreamed about for years. Motorized wheelchairs and scooters cannot be taken on most tenders. There is no refund for missed tender ports. The cruise line's policy is clear on this point. Before booking any cruise, check whether your itinerary includes tender ports. If mobility is a concern, choose itineraries where the ship docks directly at piers. Ask your travel agent or call the cruise line directly. This is information they have but rarely volunteer. And in a moment, I will tell you about a risk that is even more frightening, one that can leave you stranded in a foreign hospital with no way to get home. The fourth hidden danger is medical evacuation, and the costs are staggering. According to travel insurance data from multiple providers, a medical evacuation from a cruise ship can range from $15,000 to over $200,000, depending on your location and the severity of your condition. If you suffer a stroke in the middle of the Caribbean and need helicopter transport to Miami, you could be looking at a bill that rivals the price of a small house. A passenger who needs evacuation from a remote Pacific location faces even higher costs. The cruise line will coordinate the transfer, but you are responsible for every penny unless you have proper coverage. I processed paperwork for a passenger who needed evacuation to Australia from a Pacific cruise. The family had to provide proof of payment before the helicopter would even take off. That is the reality of cruising without adequate insurance. No payment confirmation, no evacuation. The fifth risk is one that affects seniors more severely than younger passengers: norovirus and other gastrointestinal illnesses. The CDC reported 16 outbreaks on cruise ships in a recent year, the highest number in over a decade. Nearly 900 people were sickened in December alone. Cruise ships are floating environments where thousands of people share buffets, handrails, elevator buttons, and casino machines. While most healthy adults recover from norovirus within a few days, older adults and those with weakened immune systems face much higher risks of severe dehydration. The CDC specifically states that young children, older adults, and people with compromised immune systems are most vulnerable. I have seen passengers over 70 become dangerously ill from what started as simple stomach symptoms. The key to protection is obsessive hand washing with soap and water, not hand sanitizer. Norovirus is resistant to alcohol-based sanitizers. Wash before every meal, after touching any public surface, and especially after using the restroom. If you feel unwell, report to the medical center immediately. Early intervention can prevent a minor illness from becoming a serious medical event. Now here is risk number 6, and it involves the very air you breathe on the ship. Respiratory illnesses spread rapidly in the enclosed environment of a cruise ship. The CDC specifically warns that people over 65 should be up to date on vaccinations before cruising, including flu shots and COVID boosters. The close quarters of cruise ships make transmission of airborne illnesses much more likely than on land. I cannot count how many times I saw older passengers develop severe respiratory symptoms mid-cruise because they skipped their vaccinations before departure. A quick visit to your doctor 2 weeks before sailing could save your entire vacation. Ask about recommended immunizations for your specific itinerary. The seventh risk catches many first-time cruisers completely off guard: dehydration. As we age, our thirst signals become less reliable. Add in salty ocean air, alcohol consumption, and long days in tropical sun, and you have a recipe for serious dehydration. Cruise ship food tends to be high in sodium, which makes the problem worse and can cause painful swelling in limbs for some older passengers. I always recommended that passengers over 60 carry a refillable water bottle and drink consistently throughout the day, even when they did not feel thirsty. Many newer ships have water refill stations on every deck. Use them constantly. Do not wait until you feel parched. Risk number 8 involves your medications, and this is where I have seen vacations completely fall apart. Never pack your medications in checked luggage. If your bags are delayed or lost, you could be without critical medications for days. Pack all prescriptions in your carry-on bag. Bring at least 5 to 7 extra days' worth in case of delays, and keep medications in their original, labeled bottles. Some countries have strict rules about certain medications, and having the prescription label can prevent serious problems at foreign ports. Also tell your doctor you are cruising, and ask if any of your medications interact badly with sun exposure or alcohol. I once helped a passenger who had a severe reaction because she did not know her blood pressure medication made her extremely sensitive to sunlight. She spent 3 days in her cabin recovering. The 9th hidden risk is cabin location, and most passengers have no idea how much this matters. Cabins located near elevators, nightclubs, or directly below the pool deck can be incredibly noisy. But for seniors, the bigger concern is distance. Some cruise ships are longer than 3 football fields. If your cabin is at the far end of the ship and you need to reach the medical center in an emergency, that walk can feel endless. Cabins near crew service doors can experience noise from carts at all hours. When booking, request a cabin mid-ship and close to elevators. Avoid cabins on lower decks near the engine room, where vibration and noise are strongest. A little research before booking can dramatically improve your comfort and safety. Risk number 10 is something cruise lines rarely discuss openly: the limitations of onboard medical facilities. While cruise ship medical centers have improved significantly, they are not hospitals. They can stabilize patients and handle minor emergencies, but serious conditions often require evacuation to shore. According to the CDC, approximately 10% of conditions reported to cruise ship medical centers are considered emergencies or require urgent care. About 95% of issues are handled on board, but that remaining 5% can be life-threatening situations requiring immediate transport. 80% of deaths on cruise ships are due to cardiovascular events. If you have serious chronic conditions, discuss cruising with your doctor before booking. Some itineraries spend multiple consecutive days at sea with no access to shore-based hospitals. Choose itineraries with frequent port stops if health is a concern. The 11th risk involves shore excursions, and this is where things get legally complicated. Many excursions are operated by third-party companies, not the cruise line itself. If something goes wrong during an independent excursion, the cruise line often has limited liability. Safety standards and staff training can be inconsistent in developing countries. I remember a passenger who was injured during a jungle tour and discovered the cruise line's responsibility ended at the gangway. Here is my advice. Book excursions directly through the cruise line when possible. Yes, they cost more, but you get one crucial guarantee. If your official ship-sponsored tour runs late, the ship will wait for you. If your independent tour has a flat tire, the ship sails without you and you must find your own way to the next port. For passengers over 60, that safety net is worth every extra dollar. Risk number 12 is emotional rather than physical, but it can ruin your cruise just as thoroughly. Scams targeting seniors at ports. I spoke with an elderly solo traveler whose trip was destroyed before he even reached the ship. A seemingly helpful stranger at a train station watched him enter his PIN. Then an accomplice stole his wallet. They withdrew 6,000 euros from his account. The bank refused to refund because they had the PIN. Other common scams include taxi drivers who overcharge tourists and vendors who switch currency. Always be alert when strangers offer unsolicited help, especially around ATMs and ticket machines. The 13th risk involves something many passengers overlook entirely: the physical demands of embarkation and debarkation days. These are the most chaotic days of any cruise. You may need to walk long distances through terminals, climb stairs, and stand in lines for extended periods. For passengers with limited stamina, this can be exhausting before the vacation even begins. Request wheelchair assistance through the cruise line at least 30 days before departure. There is no shame in asking for help, and it can make your first and last days dramatically more comfortable. Risk number 14 is cabin safety, and there are specific hazards most passengers never consider. If you have a balcony cabin, never open the balcony door and the cabin door at the same time. This creates a wind tunnel effect that can slam doors with bone-breaking force. I have seen passengers injured by this exact scenario. Papers fly everywhere and heavy doors swing shut violently. Also, cover your peephole with tape or a small bandage. Under certain conditions, someone in the hallway could potentially see into your room. Use the in-room safe for valuables and always lock your door, even when inside. The 15th and final risk is perhaps the most important of all: assuming that what works on land works at sea. Cruise ships operate under maritime law, not the laws of your home country. Disputes are handled differently. Medical standards vary, and your usual assumptions may not apply. The single best thing you can do is research your specific cruise line's policies before booking. Understand their medical capabilities, their evacuation procedures, and their policies for passengers with mobility limitations. Knowledge is your greatest protection. Now you have the information that most passengers never receive. You understand the risks, you know the solutions, and you can cruise with genuine confidence. None of this should scare you away from cruising. It should empower you to cruise smarter. If this helped you, hit like and subscribe. What is one thing you wish you had known before your first cruise? Next time, I will show you the free services worth thousands that cruise lines hope you never discover.